Hi, I'm Ems, aka Zack and Wings, and Neo Eco kindly sent me one of the airbrushes, the NCT SJ83. Besides being a stylish looking airbrush, it comes with these additional cups. It comes with this giant one. It also comes with a spare metal cup. It comes with additional needles, so a 0.2 and a 0.5 needle. And you can also change out the size of the nozzles too. It also comes with various different little bits. So you do have a pipette for adding thinning mediums. You have a little wrench for helping you undo the airbrush parts. It comes with an additional attachment depending on which compressor lead that you have. So let's take a closer look at this airbrush. Now let's take a look at the airbrush itself. So starting off with the trigger. I found with this trigger you did have to press down quite hard, so you had to put quite a bit of pressure on it. Compared to one of my other airbrushes, where the trigger on it is a lot more sensitive and a lot more range of motion. But I will overlook that factor for now until I actually use the airbrush on camera. So going back to the Neo Eco, you can adjust the tail end part of it so the needle can back out further. This will give you a bit more range of motion and change the sensitivity of the trigger slightly. However, it still does need a bit more pressure than some of my other airbrushes do when you're pressing down on it. A cool feature with this airbrush is this little turning knob here. This allows more or less air to come through, so you can have your airbrush to be more powerful, or you can have it a bit more restrained if you're using more detailed areas. Another cool feature is this nozzle, which I've just taken off. That allows the paint to spray further, so if you're painting up bigger things in a bigger motion. And also it comes with that additional attachment, like I said. So I'm just going to demonstrate the airbrush as it is with that additional nozzle on. I've got a black air paint from Vallejo here. You can just mix in some acrylic medium airbrush thinner if you want to. I recommend doing this in a plastic shot glass, mixing it up and then putting it into your airbrush. So I was really impressed with the spray coverage of this airbrush in the standard needle and nozzle. It covered loads of this piece of terrain, and I think this will be fantastic for painting up terrain. Just a little tip when you're airbrushing, you can tape over the areas you don't want to cover in that particular paint, or you can use some putty or some blue tack to cover that area. A quick way to clean your airbrush in between paints is to get a bowl of water and submerge it in like this, and that will quickly clean it out. If you're having particular trouble with your airbrush beyond using airbrush cleaner, isopropyl alcohol is really good at getting those tough paint stains out. When you disassemble the airbrush, get some cotton swabs and use this or some airbrush cleaner inside the parts. Now for disassembling it, so I'm just going to take it apart once the compressor is off, screw the back part out like this, and take the needle out. Now, if you do get any resistance, that means that there is too much paint probably still in the front part of the airbrush. So clean that out first. I'm going to be switching this out now with a smaller needle and a smaller nozzle to test that out. I'm taking the front part off as well because I'll be using a finer nozzle, and that attachment is so you get a bigger spray coverage, which is not what I want this time round. You can unscrew it with your hand, or you can use the little wrench if you've got some resistance. I recommend putting all of these away, so I'm going to put them in the containers the other nozzle and needle came in, just so I don't lose them. Make sure you keep on top of all of these things, because they're easily lost since they're small parts, and you don't want to accidentally find the needle and poke yourself with it. But a lot of times with airbrushes, it's all about being proactive, keeping on top of the small parts, and making sure that it's clean as well. One of the things I really do like about this airbrush, it comes apart and fits back together really easily. The parts on it do not feel fragile. I don't feel like I'm going to break them. I make sure everything is tightened up, but not too over-tightened so you break them. And this is to make sure no air leaks out of the airbrush, otherwise it won't work properly. So I'm putting the needle back on, and then I'm going to screw it up so it fits in place. And then I'm just putting the tail end back on. And there we go. It was as easy as that. So let's try this out now. So you can also change the amount of air which comes through. which will make it a bit easier when you're painting more detailed things if you want to just cover a small area, so the less air that comes out. And I'm being a bit careful as well with the trigger, just applying less pressure. That might be something you just have to get used to, and as you can see, I'm just spraying small parts here. I think that's a really great feature about this airbrush. It's versatile, so you can use it to spray large areas like terrain and busts, but also smaller areas if you're wanting to do miniatures or just small parts. So overall, what do I think about this airbrush? Well, I think it's fantastic for its price range. I like the versatility of it. We can change out the needles and the nozzles, and also changing out the cups. I also really like the fact you can change the airflow on this airbrush. So you can make it more or less powerful depending on what type of airbrushing you'll be doing. The one feature I think could be improved a little bit is the trigger. I do find this a little bit stiff. I think this is a great airbrush if you're just starting out or you want to upgrade a cheap one that you've got from Amazon. If you already have one of these airbrushes, let me know what you think of it in the comments. All links to the airbrush will be in the link in the description below. As always, thank you for watching. Remember to enjoy your hobbies for yourself. And at the end of the day, they're just war dollies. I will see you in the next one.